Yo, what's good? Sorry about the lighting. After midnight, late night mock. Couldn't sleep. Didn't get to do it live yesterday on Thursday, so we're gonna rock this one Friday morning early. Pull up if you want, voice your opinion. Let me know what players you want to pick, who your team is. Obviously, you know who my team is, but pull up, pull in if you want. You know, let's get mocked up, man. There's a lot of teams that need a lot of players, right? We've seen teams like New England Patriots go from one of the worst teams in the NFL to being in the Super Bowl. We've seen teams like the Chicago Bears trade the first round pick and then the following year end up with the first round pick because the team they traded with was so bad they ended up with the first round pick again. And some say maybe took the wrong quarterback. So let's get into it, man. Let's break it down. Let's see how this looks on the short screen. We've never done this before on this view, so that's not going to work. I think that one looks a little bit better. Y'all can see it. Sweet. Let's roll with that. I think that'll work for me. If it works for you, then it works for me. Oh shit. Sorry, I'm trying to see what this looks like. All right, we good to go. Let's rock with this. All right, mock draft 101. All NFL teams. Who's your team need? This is just my take. No consensus. Nobody's big boards. Just mine. Let's get into it. Let's go on. All right. So first off the rip, I mean, the dude's looking for a house already, right? Looking for a home to buy in Las Vegas. There's talks that, somebody could wow the Raiders and throw them a bag to possibly get the number one pick. But more than likely, the number one pick is going to be Fernando Mendoza. So let's just get it out of the way. Fernando Mendoza, welcome to Vegas. Man, if you're a Raider fan, let me know how you feel about Fernando Mendoza going to Vegas, right? We've seen in the past, the last quarterback to win a Super Bowl, to win a Heisman Trophy, and to be picked first overall was none other than Peyton Manning. His career didn't start out very great, but it turned out great. So, it's always a problem, always a gamble. They are in Las Vegas. Roll the dice. They haven't drafted a quarterback in the first round since Jamarcus Russell. So, Greg Brewer was good, my guy. Appreciate you. So let's get into it. Next up, we got the Jets. The Jets, the Jets, the Jets. Jets, 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 Jets. They need a quarterback. There's not one here. They probably should have moved up and got Fernando Mendoza. I would have been fine with that. But they would have to give up at least 3 first round picks. And I don't think they're willing to do that. I don't think with all the quarterbacks in the draft next year, that would be a smart decision by the brass for the Jets. So let's go with the smart decision. Some people have Arvell Reese. Let me know what y'all would go with. To me, I think it would be David Bailey. I think it fits more of what they're trying to do. They have a linebacker already, Quincy Williams, who is 28 years old, who is a free agent, who I would love the Raiders to go and pick up. They could also shock the world and go Caleb Downs and go safety. Their running back, Brees Hall, is a free agent. They could also go crazy. You know, the last couple years, there's been running backs drafted higher and higher in the NFL draft. Maybe, just maybe, they go Jeremiah Love. I wouldn't be surprised. What's good, VR YouTube? Appreciate you. Carnell Tate makes all the sense in the world. Makai Lemon makes all the sense in the world, right? They need a receiver to pair up with the great one that they got. Um, but I'm gonna go the easiest pick. But what is the easiest pick, right? I think it would be defensive line. But if you're going defensive line, you're going all the way to Peter Woods at 13. I think that's a gamble. I'm gonna go Arbel Reese for the Jets. I think it's a lock. I think it's easy. The next one isn't so easy. They need a quarterback. They need a running back. They need a guard and a tackle. I mean, it would make all the sense in the world, I believe, for Jeremiah Love here. Now, people are, again, picking a running back third overall. But this man, if you look at Ashton Genty, picked sixth overall. He has way more wiggle, way more dynamic with the ball in his hand, has crazy burst, athletic as hell, full spin moves, you know, out of thin air. Don't want to give him a comp to anybody, but Jeremiah Love is one of them ones. So, why does it still show that view? Hold up. Hmm. All right, what the hell's going on? They definitely need offensive line, guard, and tackle. Again, Francis Magoa does make all the sense in the world right here. Spencer Fano definitely makes sense there as well. But I kind of like Lone, which is, 22nd down. No trade downs. I don't think we're doing any trades in this round. We're trying to get through this. So let's go. I think tackle's the right pick. I think tackle's the right pick. Francis Maui Goa is the right pick. I wanted to shock the world and do something crazy. I just don't think that's the spot. Here you have a team that has a defensive head coach and also has an offensive coordinator that's been a head coach that's very offensive minded, right? Quarterback friendly. They have a lot of needs as well: running back, wide receiver, center, guard, edge, and corner. To me, it would be Delane. I think that's one of the biggest needs for the Tennessee Titans. And yes, it would be a reach, but I think that would be their best bet. Also, David Bailey off the edge. Ruben Bain also makes sense off the edge. Anybody want to help me out? Let me know what y'all opinion is or what your thoughts. You know, I think David Bailey. I really think that's, they have pieces on the defense, but they also have a wide receiver already. You can get a running back and free agent. There's guys like Kenneth Walker, guys like Eantine, however you say that. There's guys you can go out and get. There might even be a Josh Jacobs on the market, according to sources on X. That could be a possibility as well. So, but needing a running back, man, needing a running back. I don't think they take one this high. I don't think they. I think wide receiver would probably be the best way to go. You got to give somebody, for Ward. Yes, he has a decent offensive line. They need help on there, but you can go, later in the rounds. I think Carnell Tate is the receiver here. I really do. I think Cam Ward with Carnell Tate would be scary. And I know most people are thinking defense, right? Because like I said, you have Robert Sala over there, and that just seems like the pick. Giants on the clock, wide receiver, guard, tackle, and corner. To me, you got to shore up the sidelines. There's a lot of corners that you can get in the second round that I believe would do the trick. They have a solid defensive front. I think you got to help Jackson Dart. And I think that pick would be, damn, ranked 22nd. Yeah, I think you got to get help. I think their biggest need is an inside. They can bring Jermaine Illuminor back. I think that would definitely help out their team as well. And I'm gonna go lone here. I'm gonna go guard. I think that's a big spot. They need somebody that's gonna shore up the inside. If Scatterboo comes back, there's talks of Cam Scatterboo retiring. They might need a running back, but we can go that later in the rounds. Here, I mean, the Washington Commanders, what don't they need? They need a tight end, they need a guard, they need an edge, a linebacker, and some kind of defensive back, whether it be a safety, whether it be a corner, a slot guy. They could use all the above. I know Ruben Bain is on the board, but David Bailey just kind of screams. Um, shit, I skipped a guy. Sorry, I skipped a team. It's the Cleveland Browns on the clock at 6. They need a wide receiver, a quarterback, a guard, and a tackle. Actually, they need two tackles, two guards, and a center. Their whole entire offensive line is free agents. Depending on who they bring back, they are $20 million over the salary cap. Not good for a team that just got a new head coach, right? Um, not good at all whatsoever. Shout out to the people in the chat, whoever's left in the chat. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. To me, wide receiver makes all the sense in the world. You need a guy. If Shador's going to be that guy, you need a guy that you could just throw the ball to and he's going to go get it. And I think Makai Lemon is that guy. It's funny they say they still need a quarterback when everybody thinks it's Shador. So yeah, Browns second round, I would think got to go offensive line, third round, and maybe even the fourth for the Cleveland Browns with all the needs they need. Right now on the clock is the Washington Commanders, who again they need guard, edge, linebacker, and tight end. And I think David Bailey is the guy right here. If he falls to 7, which I don't think he is, I would have picked him at 3 or 4, but just trying to do something different than everybody else, right? And I think it's a perfect fit. David Bailey, coming off the edge in a Dan Quinn scheme makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. Saints on the clock. It's funny that the New Orleans Saints, for as much as they've struggled, right? They have Tyler Shuck that looks like their guy for the future, but they need wide receiver, guard, and defensive line. Now, Ruben Bain makes sense here, right? If he can't play on the edge in the NFL, you can put him on the inside. He has the strength, the physical hands, the technique to play all over the line, in my opinion. And I think this would be a huge, huge pickup for the Saints. However, they do need a guard. And the next best guard is, geez, there's no first round guards in this draft. Well, it doesn't look like they're going guard here. And wide receiver would be Jordan Tyson. I think Jordan Tyson's a good fit. I mean, they do need a guard in D line. And I think D line, I really think their defense, has some injuries, has some struggles, has some free agents. On offense, you have Chris Olave. And if you pair Jordan Tyson with Chris Olave for Tyler Shuck, I think you're heading in the right direction. Do they want to take a receiver that high? It is their biggest need. But if I was the Saints, I would try to take a guy more like Denzel Boston at 22. I think they do that. I think they do that with Chris Olave. I don't know. I can't think they kind of need more speed though. Kind of need more speed though. Sonny Styles makes a lot of sense here. Let's go Peter Woods. I think go Peter Woods to the Saints. That's a little early, man. I I think Caleb Banks is better fit for there. I'm going Caleb Banks for the Saints. On the clock is the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, I want to give them the worst player in the draft, but I can't do that. This is Ruben Bain makes a lot of sense there. Jeremiah Jeremiah Love also makes a lot of sense there. I would hate for this Kansas City Chiefs to get Jeremiah Love, but really, if you think about it, they're $50 million, I do believe, over the cap. They're restructuring. They're restructuring the contract of Patrick Mahomes. Which shout out to Patrick Mahomes for you know being that dude and taking one for the team and being like, yo, I don't need all this money. Take some of it, right? I like that. It's hard not to root for a guy like Patrick Mahomes when he does shit like that. Vroom, vroom, you're a car. Nice. Way to go, BMW. Obviously, you're a BMW car. You got a turbo kit in there. You got some nitrous. Or is it just a regular V8? All right, man. So, Kansas City, I think, really needs to make a splash here. They need a receiver like a running back like Jeremiah Love, a receiver like Jeremiah Love out of the backfield, a guy that could do a lot for this team. I just don't know if they're willing to do that. They have a lot of holes. They need a running back, number one, obviously, wide receiver, guard, tackle, and really the best player for them would be Ruben Bain on the defensive line. But I say they make a splash. I say they make a splash. Nah, I don't. I don't think they do that. They're not smart enough to do that, right? Who else on the D line? I think Peter Woods would make sense. I mean, your best defensive line, Chris Jones, is getting up there. How much longer is he going to be around? Peter Woods would be a guy that you can kind of groom him. They also need a lot of help on the offensive line, guard and tackle. They tried to take one 31st last year. It didn't, it hasn't worked out so far. Do they swing for the fences and do they go get a Spencer Fano? I mean, I think that makes sense. You gotta protect Patrick Mahomes. I'm going Spencer Fano for the Chiefs. I think that makes the best asset right there. You're protecting your quarterback who's about to make what 75, $80 million for a season. I think you got to go tackle here. To me, this one, center, guard, defensive end, or defensive line, Ruben Bain makes a lot of sense for the Bengals. I think they would love to have a player like that. But I also think Sonny Styles makes a lot of sense there. Cassius Howe kind of makes sense there too. A guy that you can move on the inside, on the outside. To me, violent hands, physical. If I'm Bengals, man, you can't pass on Caleb Downs. I don't know how he made it to 10. He should have been in the top 5, but there wasn't really a lot of teams with safety needs, right? Um, yeah. So somebody should have swung for the fences. I think it's the Bengals. You have your guy at Joe Burrow on the offense, quarterback side. Why not bring a safety in like Caleb Downs that's just going to change everything about that defense? Caleb Downs is the pick for the Bengals. On the clock, they need a quarterback, but I don't think they go quarterback this year. I think they go and see what they have when Quinn Ewers. They also drafted a quarterback, or not drafted a quarterback, but took a quarterback that the Raiders drafted. Actually, Tom Brady and John Spytek took a chance on later in the rounds. A guy that all he did was win, 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 no matter what. North Dakota State and Cam Miller. So maybe, just maybe, they have their quarterback, right? Maybe they wait a year. I don't think they swing this year. Not a big quarterback class. Next year is way bigger. So to me, I'm going wide receiver, guard, or corner. Corner Mesidor Delane would be the smartest pick. I'm taking that. Mesidor Delane to the Dolphins makes sense. You need a linebacker. Sonny Styles would be nasty, 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 filthy work for the Dallas Cowboys at this pick. I'm not going to take a long time. It's very easy. It's Sonny Styles for the Rams. They need a tackle. They need a corner. I think Jamon McCoy makes all the sense in the world. They got Chris Shula over there, defensive coordinator. He seems to work wonders with on that staff with these younger guys in the backfield. They got a safety that's going to be a very high profile free agent safety over there. And I wouldn't mind picking up if I was the Raiders. So to me, it makes sense. I would go McCoy here. Quarterback is not really their biggest need, although they could go Ty Simpson here, but there's so many quarterbacks next year. I don't know where they're going to be picking next year, where they have 2 first rounds this year. Maybe they trade one of those away for a pick next year. I don't know. Let's go McCoy here. I think it makes sense. They don't really draft corners in the first round. As good as their defense is, they need a shutdown guy, a guy they can depend on. And I think McCoy will be that guy if he stays healthy. Wide receiver is definitely their number one need. Guard and defensive line. Jordan Tyson just seems to fit here from Arizona State. I'm going Arizona State. Jordan Tyson for the Ravens. Shout out to the people rocking in the building. Appreciate you. Man, I'm faster than whatever Detroit got. What? As long as you're faster than whatever Detroit got, bro. As long as you can beat somebody, right? You ain't first. You last. On the clock, the Tampa Bay Bucks. They need a lot here. They need an awful lot. They need a tight end, a guard, an edge rusher, a linebacker, and a corner. I think Ruben Bain here fits that need. I'm going Ruben Bain. The Jets are back on the clock. Do they do something crazy and go with a Carson Beck here? Do they skip over a Ty Simpson and go for a Carson Beck? Probably not. If you've seen the thumbnail, I have him taking Cole Payton, but I don't think he goes at 248. I think he moves up in this draft. And I think they take him a lot higher. I think he surprises some people in the combine. I think he already surprised a little bit of folks at the Senior Bowl. Didn't have the greatest game, one of those windy ass days where made it rough for any quarterback. Wide receiver, D line, linebacker, and corner is the biggest need. To me, I think Keldrick Falk makes sense here on the edge. They need D line. Peter Woods also makes sense here. They just gave up, you know, their pick to Dallas. Let's go Peter Woods here at 16. To Lions, a center, a tackle, an edge, and a corner. Cassius Howe would be nasty here. I think Keldrick Falk would be the pick if it was me on the edge. Still being there at 17 is crazy. Running back Jeremiah Love. Yes, he fell all the way to 18, and I think this is the pick. I think in Kevin O'Connell's system, I think Jeremiah Love, if he makes it this far, which would be a shocker, you have to go Jeremiah Love. Their biggest need is running back. Put somebody in the backfield to take a little bit of pressure off their young quarterback, JJ, aka 9. If he is that guy, wide receiver, D line, and linebacker. I think Lee Hunter is the pick here. Just makes sense for me. The Dallas Cowboys again. They need running back, edge, linebacker, and I think Cassius Howe. I think Cassius Howell would be a good fit here. Quarterback, I don't know how you pass on a Ty Simpson. I think you take a chance if you're the Steelers. And I think Ty Simpson would be the pick for the Steelers here. Next on the clock, we have the Lightning Bugs. If you're a Chargers fan, I'm sorry. They don't need a lot. They don't need a lot, according to this. They need a guard, a center, and D line. I think center is the biggest need. Let's see what the top ranked center is. They tried to take one from us. It didn't work very well. Connor Lou. I just don't see them taking a center in this round. A guard is also probably out of the question. I mean, they might go crazy and take Emmanuel Pragon. What is their next pick? Does it tell me? Their next pick is 55. They could go Pragon here. They don't have a lot of needs. There are guards you can probably get in the second round to fill that, like Chase Benite, Basantes, Connor Lou, Sam Hecht, which I kind of really like Sam Hecht. Wouldn't mind him being the Las Vegas Raider. Jake Slaughter. Yeah, I think they could get one in the second. I don't know why I'm being nice to the Chargers, but let's go. Best available would be Caden McDonald. I guess it's Caden McDonald. But if they're taking best available, I would hate to have for them to have Avian Terrell or Denzel Boston. Yeah, I think K McDonald's probably that pick. That's what I would do. Tight end, guard, edge, and corner. Avion Terrell is it's not even a question. I think that's a good fit for the Eagles. On the clock again is the Browns from Jacksonville. They need quarterback, wide receiver, guard, and tackle. What did we pick for them? We picked a receiver. So they need guard, tackle, and a quarterback. But they have Dylan Gabriel. They have Shador Sanders. I mean, do they really need? I think Caden Proctor is the pick here. Makes sense to me. They might lose a very athletic tackle, or not very athletic, but pretty decent athletic. Next on the clock is the Burrs. They definitely need a linebacker and a safety. I think CJ Allen would be a great pick here. Don't know if he really is the fit. The Bears, what the Bears pick again at 20, 55, 57. My bad, 57. Yeah, they're not getting a safety. I mean, they can get a safety there. Akeem Mesidor is still on the board. Wow. Well, he won't be on the board in the next pick. Um, any word from the chat? What y'all got? Something? Nothing? Grim in the building. What's good, my guy? Appreciate you. Just doing a little late night mock. Sorry for the lighting. Everybody's sleeping, trying to be quiet. That's why I'm close to the mic. Chicago Bears don't really have a lot of needs. I think linebacker is their best. I think CJ Allen would be the guy here. R. Mason Thomas. I hope he falls to 38 because he will be a Raider all day. That is my pick. In case y'all don't know, second round, it's R. Mason Thomas. That is my guy. Denzel Boston. Nah, they need linebacker. I go CJ Allen. I think CJ Allen for the Bears. They got great coaching staff. I think it shouldn't be a problem. I think it shouldn't be a problem there. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills that are so desperate to win a Super Bowl. Their window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Wide receiver, definitely a need. Edge, definitely a need. Denzel Boston being here, I was gonna make my guy Mesidor um, Akeem off the board, but damn, I think Denzel Boston is the guy here. On the clock is the San Francisco 49ers. They need wide receiver, guard, edge, and safety. Wide receiver, guard, edge. I think KC Concepcion right here would be a nice fit. I think Casey Concepcion is the pick right here. Next on the clock, them up and coming Texans, right? The Houston Texans need a running back, a center, a guard, and a D line. Well, it just so happens there is a D lineman in Christian Miller right here that I think could be a fit on that line. We're going to go Christian Miller. The Rams are on the clock. And I'm going to do something crazy with the Rams. I think Omar Cooper is the pick here. Yes, it's a big reach, but I just think it's a fit. I think with Matthew Stafford and that back shoulder throw, those quick timing passes, I think Omar Cooper is going to surprise some people coming up in the combine next week. Make sure y'all pull up, pull in, tap in. We're going to get into it. We're going to start breaking down players really soon. But damn, YouTube don't let me do. So I got to figure it out, man. Maybe on the Patreon. Maybe on the Patreon. Omar Cooper is the pick there. The Broncos are on the clock. They need a running back, a tight end, and I think Keon Sedquid, whatever his name is a great fit for Sean Payton, Bo Nix. Not a great fit for my Raiders, the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Chargers, but it is a great fit for the Denver Broncos, excuse me. Sorry, I'm trying to be non biased today. On the clock is number 31. Number 31. We have the New England Patriots. They need a guard, a tackle, an edge, and a linebacker. And I think Monroe Freeling is the pick here. Had a little struggles with the new guy, right? Said he would die, on a hill. Well, it looked like he died on a hill during the playoffs. Shout out to the big man. Don't. Um, anyway, those short arms, they might have to move him inside to the guard position. So I think Monroe Freeling, good footwork, good athleticism, good size. What better fit? What better fit? Next, we have the Super Bowl champs, the Seattle Seahawks. And they need a running back. They need a guard. They need a center, a linebacker, and a corner. And to me, I think Kenneth Aubrey is the guy here. 6', 190. What is Kenneth Aubrey? 6', 190. Well, who's the best in coverage? Zone cover grade 81.7, man coverage grade, run defense, coverage grade 85.3. Man, I wish he would fall to the second round. That would be nice. Chase is 71 coverage grade, but better in the run, 89.2. Man coverage grade, 61. Ugh. Ugh. I heard the Raiders were looking into drafting this man. I didn't know his numbers were like that. I mean, you had a 47 grade against LSU. You had a 37.5 grade against Texas A&M, a 64.8 grade, which is not too bad, but against Clemson last year. Yeah. Um yeah, no. If it's me, I'm going Aubrey here. They also need a linebacker. The next linebacker on the board is Anthony Hill Jr. Makes sense here. Um, they also need center and guard. I think Emmanuel Pragon makes sense here. I know it's a swing, but I think that's a nice fit. I think that's a nice fit. Let's take that. All right, man. Shout out to everybody in the building. A couple people in the building. I know it's late night. I know it's a new scene. Stefan in the building. What's good, my guy? How's everybody doing? How was y'all's Thursday night? Let's go over this first round. Fernando Mendoza, Arvell Reese, Francis Mangoa, new coach over there. They're probably getting a new quarterback, more than likely. You know, they have a chance to. Oh no, I think I drafted him already. Well, they can't get Tyler. Um, Carnell Tate with Cam Ward, I think is just lightning in a bottle. They need a number one guy that they can depend on, and I think Tate is that guy. Olane to the Giants, protect Jackson Dart. Makai Lemon to the Browns, David Bailey to Washington, Caleb Banks to the Saints, Spencer Fano to the Kansas City Chiefs, Caleb Downs to maybe one of the best safeties to come out ever. We shall see, but he's definitely probably in the top 10 or 5, possibly some say 2 or 3. Caleb Downs to the Bengals, I think is going to be nice. Mesidor Delane to the Dolphins, I think definitely helps that defense. Sonny Styles as well helps the Dallas Cowboys. McCoy to the Rams, Jordan Tyson. Give a new defensive coach over there and new offensive coordinator, a weapon for a 2-time, could have been 3-time MVP quarterback they have over there in Lamar Jackson. Then you have Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain to the Bucks, Peter Woods to the Jets, Celtic Falk to the Lions, Jeremiah Love to Minnesota. That would be nasty. Lee Hunter to the Carolina Panthers. Cassius Howe. That's a nice draft for the Cowboys. Ty Simpson, new quarterback. That would be nice. For the Steelers, they haven't drafted one in the first round since Kenny Pickett. Didn't go very well, right? Caden McDonald to the Cowboys. Avian Terrell to the Eagles. Caden Proctor to the Browns. CJ Allen. Denzel Boston. CJ Allen to the Bills. Wait, CJ Allen to the Bears. Denzel Boston to the Bills. Say that 4 times fast. Concepcion to the 49ers. Christian Miller to the Texans. Omar Cooper to the Rams. Kenyon Sadquid, tight end. Some say, maybe one of the best tight ends to come out. Could be even up there with Brock Bowers level. Monroe Feeling, him to the Donkeys. Monroe Feeling To the loser in the Super Bowl, the Patriots and Pregon, to the defending Super Bowl champs are the newly crowned Super Bowl champs, right? The Seattle Supersonics. No, I'm just kidding. The Seattle Seahawks. And we will start round two, and the Jets are on the clock. They need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. They need a wide receiver. They need a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a corner. And I think Sissy may be the man here. I don't know how Akeem Amezador made it out of the first round. He is my top, like, I don't know, edge rusher. He's probably top 2 or 3. But I went by need for teams, biggest need and second biggest need, some third or fourth. And Akeem Mesidor to the Jets is absolutely crazy. They already got Francis Maui Goa, and now they have both trenches on lockdown, I think. The Cardinals on the clock still need a quarterback. They need a running back, a guard, and a tackle. And the best tackle is Caleb Lamo, I believe, right here. But they have Francis Mauigoa. Wait, who the hell? I don't know. That got messed up. So, guard probably would be the best. But Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck. Yeah, none of these guys are worth taking at all. And there is not a. Actually, there is a running back. And that running back would be. Actually, not at 34. Damn, they got them low. Emmett Johnson, Mike Washington, 159. There is no way that dude makes it out of the second round. There is no way. Had a great Senior Bowl, killed it at Arkansas, was most of their yards, 6'2, 228. Come on, dude. This dude has Eddie George written all over him. Big, long strides, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Not saying he is an Eddie George, no comp there. Just saying the size, the weight, the speed, the long legs, the physicality. I would take him. Anyways, let's get back to it. The Cardinals need guard and tackle. They don't even have a quarterback, but I guess they're going to find one. They got their tackle. I don't think they're going guard here. I think you go best position available at this point. And that would be, man, this sucks. They're going to have to. You know what? I think their tackle might have been the wrong one. Interior line is Chase Benitez. They pick again at 34. Oh, we're at 34. They pick again at 65. They are not getting him at 65. Well, I guess you have. Do they need 2 tackles? No, I'm just kidding. 2 tackles? Anyone? Man, so that's a lot. That's a lot. Let's do this. Let's trade with somebody, anybody who wants to move up. The Houston Texans. What's their biggest need? Center, guard, defense, same thing. Jeez Louise. The Browns. The Chiefs. The Saints don't have many needs either. What's good? What's good? Take any offensive lineman you can. Um, Need a project. Number one draft. Take any offensive lineman for the Cardinals. That's a big gamble, though, man. That's all right. Let's undo this trade. So the best offensive lineman would be tackle Lamo. I mean, they just got a tackle in Francis Mauigoa. Can he play left or right? Snaps. Doesn't say. All right. Well, it doesn't say. I think he does play left or right. Two tackles there would be crazy though to me. So I think guard. I guess guard. The best guard available. It's not too big of a reach. I mean, it's wherever it's at. It is 20 spots, man. 20 spots. You don't think that's too big of a jump? I think that's way too big of a jump. Way too big of a jump. I think they need to take best player available there. Like, let's take Chase. He might go higher in the draft. He might, you know, who knows at the combine. But the Cardinals got their guard and they have their tackle. Next up on the clock is the Tennessee Titans. They need a running back, a wide receiver, a guard, a center, which none of those are even close. They need edge, and I think TJ Parker is this pick right here. What did we pick for him last time? A wide receiver. Yes, they definitely need an edge. TJ Parker. Go help out Salah over there. The Raiders on the clock. I mean, if Caleb Lamo made it that far, it's a no brainer. I just don't think he does. This is my mock draft. He did. So I'm taking him. I'm going to take him. The Raiders did go to Utah 5 games last year, more than they went to, or it was the second most. I think they went to Penn State the most 5 games last year. So they were obviously watching the Penn State offensive guard. In my opinion, that would be the number one guy, Lone, and then obviously they were at Utah. I mean, the two biggest people coming out of the draft was their left and right tackles. So obviously they were watching those guys. Makes perfect sense. I would be plenty good with that if I was a Raider fan. Definitely need a right tackle. I think he could be that man. On the clock again is the New York Giants at 37. Wide receiver, guard, tackle, and corner. I think Sisse or Auburn makes all the sense in the world here. We gave him Vega Lone. I think maybe a tackle makes sense here too. Who is on the board? I would go Maxine Archer here. I think that would be a decent pick for the Giants. You don't have a lot of needs. Wide receiver is definitely one of them. Chris Bell kind of makes sense also. 6'2", 220. Yeah, man, I think that's the pick right there. Chris Bell, 6'2", 220. Pair up with Malik Neighbors. I mean, that's a no-brainer. They need a tackle. They also need a corner. Aubrey is there. But when you have a Jackson Dart, man, I think you need to shore up Jackson Dart. Safety, a guy that was in the concussion protocol more than anybody last year, right? I think that's the pick. I think that's the pick. Yep, I'm gonna reach just a little bit, and I'm gonna go Max Ian Archer because their next pick is. That's all the picks they got. Wait, what the hell? I hope they have more picks. I hope so. That's kind of a reach, man. I think Chris Bell is the guy. I think Chris Bell is the guy. Let's go, Chris Bell. On the clock is the Texans. They need a running back, guard, center, and D line. We're at 38. Where's the next closest guard or center? 65. They pick again at 59. They can get their guy there. I think we'll go with think their guy. I know their guy will be there because I'm the one picking him, so he should be there. On the clock, 38 running back would make a lot of sense. None of these backs are even close to being picked this high. I mean, I think Mike Washington is worth being picked that high. And if I was on the clock and I was the Texans, I would take Mike Washington this high. Whatever people want to say, Le'Veon Moss. I mean, there's a lot of running backs, but they have him projected absolutely wrong. Like I said, 6'2", 228, quick, can catch out of the backfield. He can block. He's dynamic. He's got wiggle. I mean, I really like Mike Washington. But we'll go with their consensus, and their consensus say there is not a running back worth taking at this spot. And we'll rock with that. We will go with. I think defensive line makes all the sense in the world here. R. Mason Thomas, I probably should have took for the Raiders, but I couldn't pass on the most. So if he was there, that would have been the pick. But R. Mason Thomas, I think, golly, they have two dynamic edge rushers. They don't need an edge. They need D line. The next D line would be, good heavens, Dante. When do they pick next? 59. All right. I don't know what the pick is here. I do not know what the pick is here. I'm gonna go crazy and take a running back. 5'9", 228. I kind of like Jonah Coleman here, but man, they pick way too early. Any help? Any help? Really hope they let Mendoza lead under Gino for a year, like Eli with Kurt Warner. I really hope they cut Gino and get him the hell out of the building. Obviously, like it. You don't want anybody learning behind Geno Smith. We seen the way he treated his interviews, the way he treated the fans, flipping them off. You know, was not a great guy in the locker room, from what I hear. I don't think Gino wants to be in Vegas. I know 90%, maybe 99% of Raider fans don't want him in Vegas. So just, if you could trade the man for a bag of chips and a Dr. Pepper, that would be great. Or, you know, just cut the man. But if somebody's willing to give you a seventh round pick, or, even if it's the last pick in the draft, I would take that all day. They would have to take on his salary. And that would be, the best scenario for the Raiders, in my opinion. Um, I'm gonna reach here. I think these centers are way undergraded, and I'm gonna take Connor Liu here for the Texans. They need a center that's smart, that can run the offense, that can call out defenses, and I think Connor Liu fits that for what they're trying to do over there. Next on the clock, we have the Browns. They need still. We gave them Makai Lemon, wide receiver, and Caden Proctor at tackle. So they definitely need a guard. They're picking at 39. Like I said, these guys are just not up there. There's not a quarterback here. Man, there's just maybe a tight end. They kind of need another tight end. They're going to lose one. I don't know if they run 12 personnel. Yeah, you're just reaching so far if you go get a guard or a tackle here. They got a tackle. They got a receiver. I mean, Jennings Dunker right here makes sense to me. If you move him into guard, they need a guard. I would hate for him not to be on the Raiders. Really, if I'm them, that's probably where I'd pick right there. They pick again at 70. I guess he could probably be there at 70. But that just makes all the sense in the world, in my opinion. Interior, I mean, two wide receivers would not hurt them. Elijah Surratt would be nice. Again, these guys are just so far down at 39. There's really best player available, I think, is the way to go if you're the Browns. And I don't think corner or safety would hurt them. I'm going to give them Warren. Kansas City Chiefs. How have you been, Rebel? Just watching Fady Raider. What's good? Just wanted to stop in and say salute. Appreciate you popping in. I'm good, man. I'm good. Late night Thursday. Don't have shit to do tomorrow, so I figured I'd pop in doing my mock draft. Didn't get to go live early enough, so the Kansas City Chiefs, man, they needed a running back, a wide receiver, a guard, a tackle, and D line, and we gave them Spencer Fano. That's gonna be nasty. Why do we do that? D line would be I think wide receiver here. I think wide receiver is the best fit here. They don't take one very early, and the next best wide receiver is Jeremy Bernard. Um, Contested catch rate 35%. What is his drop rate? Drops one. Yards after catch 6.2. Average depth of target 10.7. 17 missed tackles forced. Deep catches 5. I mean, Mahomes doesn't really need. That's so far down though. 57. They could probably use a corner. I would go corner here. They have one they might be getting rid of. They always have good corners and safeties there. Let's see what other wide receiver is on this list. Elijah Surratt. Skylar Bell would make sense. Also, their next pick is 74. They might need to take a receiver here. Zachariah Branch could be there. Why does everybody need guards, bro? Guard is going to be a high commodity in this free agency and in this draft, and they're not ranked very high, right? Jake Slaughter, 77. Bo Stevens. Yeah. Man, I feel sorry for some of these teams. You're going to have to go best available, and I think our Mason Thomas is the best available here. They don't really have a dominant edge. It says D line, and God, I hate to see that for the Chiefs, but our Mason Thomas, it is. The Bengals, they need a safety. That would be Dylan Thienman. I think that's a nice fit there. Yeah, 91 coverage grade. That's what I thought. And they just got two safeties, didn't they? But oh well. Bengals fans are not going to be very happy with this draft. On the clock, the Saints, they need wide receiver, they need a guard, and they need defensive line. Um, feeling Inves. What the hell? I don't know what you're saying. Saying Tim. Wide receiver, guard, D line. I think D line for the Saints would be nice, seeing how the guards are such later in the rounds. Actually, if I'm the Saints, I can't pass on this. I can't pass on this. You need a guy that can, I like Jigger Burton too. Um, you need a guy that's physical. Sam Hecht, Kalen Rutledge. Damn, I can't do that either. Jeez Louise. Y'all ain't no help in this chat. Y'all ain't no help. No help at all. Wide receiver. I think I gave them a wide receiver already. No, they got D line. I like Jeremy Bernard here. Sometimes you're gonna have to reach a little. That's the best wide receiver. They need a wide receiver. We're going there. The Dolphins got cornerback Mesidor Delane, and they are just now picking at 43. Damn. They need guard, wide receiver, and quarterback. Guard, wide receiver, and quarterback. There's just so many great players that they are gonna have to deal with a linebacker. I think Anthony Hill Jr. there. The Jets on the clock, and they have Arvell Reese, Peter Woods, and Akeem Mesidor. And I think that defense, with their new defensive-minded head coach, should have no excuses whatsoever. They need help on the offense this time. I mean, maybe 3 picks ago, and there is nobody on this offense to help them. Wide receiver here, I think Elijah Surratt. Their next pick is. They don't pick again. All right, so this draft is going to end there. Five ten 180. I like Zachariah Branch. I think he could help the Jets. I really do. I think Elijah Surratt can as well. But that's 20 point reach. Best available is Edge at Gabe Lucas. They need D line help. Let's go, Gabe Lucas there. Guard again. Everybody needs a damn guard. This whole damn draft is nothing but guard needed teams. Wide receiver Elijah Surratt at 44. I think that makes sense. I think he's better than a 60. Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have Ruben Bain, edge. So edge is done. They need linebacker, guard, corner. Cisse is the pick here. They need safety. Halsey is the pick here. The Falcons, wide receiver. Who did they get? The Falcons haven't picked yet? Holy Nikes. Damn. They need wide receiver, tight end. I have the perfect tight end right here. Eli Stowers. That works just fine. Running back, corner, and defensive back. Aubrey is the pick there. Center, tight end, or tackle, edge, and corner. Max and Archer is definitely the pick there for the Lions. The Panthers need wide receiver, defensive line, and linebacker. I think Jake Golday is the pick there. The Packers need defensive line help, tackle, and corner. I think Colton Hood, I don't know how the hell he fell to 48, but Colton Hood is the pick there. If he falls that far, um, I, I don't see that. I probably should have drafted him earlier. Maybe I should have went a little farther down the rankings because these rankings for PFF are not very good, man. They are not very good. I'm not gonna lie. Zion Young would make a lot of teams happy. Unfortunately, this team needs a quarterback, a wide receiver, a tackle, and a DB. And that tackle is going to be Blake Miller. Shout out to the 10 people in the building. I appreciate y'all. Um, Might get snow here today finally. We doing fantasy football. LP Staffo. Yeah, we're doing a little, no, just a little late night mock draft. 3 rounds for all the teams. All the teams. Never done one before. And I figured the first one, instead of doing 1 round, shit, why not make it 3? I didn't know it was going to take this long. But excuse me, but if I didn't know, now I know, right? All right, the Eagles need a tight end. They need an edge, and I think Zion Young or Overton is the pick here. What did I give them last time? They got their corner. Oh, they got Avion Terrell. How did he fall that far? I'm not good at this. I think Zion Young is the pick here. It shouldn't even be a question. They need a guard, a center. They pick again, 86. They are going to need to take their center now if they want him. And I think Sam Hecht would be the perfect position for the Chargers there. On the clock, we have what? What are your thoughts on Warren Sapp? Time here with the Raiders. I thought he was very impacting. Well, I drink. I always have 2 or more. 3 is even number, right? You can never drink just one. So I quit drinking a long, long time ago. And now I still can't drink one. I drink one and it ends up being 2 or 3. But it's very seldom. Very, very seldom. Once, maybe twice a year. That's why I don't go to football games no more either. Because when I go to a football game, I gotta drink. It's just what I've done my whole life. So that's why I don't make it to a lot of Raider games no more. To temptation. To temptation. All right, on the clock is, who do we have? The Jacksonville Jaguars. They need a guard, a center, a defensive line, and a safety. And I think Kamari Ramsey is the pick here. The Bears have their linebacker. They need a safety and a D line. I think Dante Corralone is the guy here. San Francisco needs wide receiver, guard, edge, and safety. They got their wide receiver. They could use guard, edge, and safety. Edge, Overton, Romeo Hyatt. I think I have a little bit higher than, damn, pass rush grade. Yeah, I think I have Romeo Height just a little bit higher than Overton. Um, a lot higher than Overton. I think Romeo Height, as much as I hate to give him to the damn 49ers, is the pick here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Throwing up in my mouth here. Um, all right, so next we have the Houston Texans. They need a running back, a guard, a center, and a D lineman, and I gave them Christian Miller D line and Connor Liu center. So now they need a guard and a running back. And I think Thierman is maybe a guard, maybe a guy they move into guard. Pass blocking grade. 6'7", 325. That would be a hell of a guard. Hell of a guard. Um, what do we got running back here? Running back is still way too high. That's not a running back. That's a wide receiver. That would probably make sense. Jeremiah Price here, I think makes sense at 61. They need a running back. That shores that up. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock. They have a wide receiver in Denzel Boston. That is going to be scary with Josh Allen. Bills fans, you're welcome. Wide receiver, edge, linebacker, and DB. Kind of like D'Angelo Pons here and Chris Johnson, but they need an edge. And I think Derek Moore might. I think Derek Moore might be the guy here. Wait, who is that? I said I'm gonna start going down a little bit farther because you never know. Jennings Dunker is still in the building. Holy shnikes! How did he make it this far? That's my number one guard. Well, whatever team I drafted guards for, I failed y'all. I failed y'all. I'm just saying. This is definitely failed. If you needed a guard and you didn't get Jennings Dunker, I apologize. I apologize. Absolutely. That was a huge mistake. A huge mistake. Like I said, I probably should go down these a little bit more because I forget that these ratings are not even close. But linebacker, I think Josiah Trotter is the guy here for the Bills. I really do. And that's what I'm going. Rams on the clock, and they have Jermon McCoy and Omar Cooper Jr. That's just filthy. They need a quarterback. They don't have a lot of needs. Carson Beck seems to be the pick here. Carson Beck seems to be the pick here. If anybody can fix the fact that Carson Beck makes bad decisions, being a decent quarterback, it's got to be Sean McVay. It's got to be Sean McVay. So Carson Beck, welcome to the Los Angeles Rams. You are now the backup, or maybe third string, but you might be starter if Matthew Stafford doesn't make it through the season. He's getting up there. All right, the Donkey Broncos are on the clock. They need running back, tight end, center, and linebacker, and I gave them a tight end. So we will go. They went running back last year. I gave them a tight end. I guess it's center here. Jake Slaughter. DJ Campbell, Bo Stevens, I have way better, way higher than a lot of these guys. Logan Jones also. Parker Brailsford. Jesus, 209. I mean, they need a center. I don't know if they're going to be in that battle for Tyler Lindenbaum, right? That's going to be award that I don't know if they could fit. Like Dirty Harry says, a man has to show his limits. That's funny. Raiders go on to lose. The Patriots go to win. Go to win what? 2001 Brady fumbles. Um, calls half hour delay. Vince rules the tuck rule. Tell me the NFL isn't WWE. Without telling you it's not WWE, um, I don't think I can. I don't think I can. I'm gonna go Jake Slaughter right here. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but that is their biggest need other than linebacker. And I don't see a linebacker ranked high enough that they're not reaching even farther. Like, good lord, way far, way, way, way far. All right, linebacker is 84. Dante Lawson. Kyle Lewis would be nasty for the Broncos here. I have him graded way higher. Dante Lawson also would be nasty here. 6'2", 228. Um, that's their best bit. That's their next biggest need besides running back, right? Shout out to the people in the building. If you have any requests, if you have any picks, let me know. Let me know, man. Let me know. Running back, the next is 78. Washington. I think Emmett Johnson kind of fits this. But that's more of a stretch than the guard. So I'm going to be nice to the Bronco fans, to the Bronco fans, and I'm going to go Jake Slaughter here. The Patriots. The Patriots are on the clock, and they picked up Monroe Freeling. That's nasty. That is nasty. They need a guard, and the best guard available is not a lot of guards. Keelan Rutledge. Oh yeah, he's way higher than that. 6'4", 230. Yeah, I'm gonna draft their guard now because we only have one more round and they need one. That's the highest one. LT Overton is still on the clock. They need running back, center, guard, linebacker, and corner. I think Keontae Scott is the pick, but I believe no, I got him a guard last time. So yeah, Keontae Scott is the pick for the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, they need a quarterback. Let's see what we could get here. I think this pick is going to be none other than Drew Allar. I believe with a guy like Michael LaFleur in the building, Drew Allar is kind of, you know, kind of gives you those Matthew Stafford vibes. Way better athlete, a lot more mobile, but he's a dude that has pretty good accuracy. A lot of people are hating on him, but last year, a lot of people, not this following year, but last year, a lot of people were talking about this man being in the, in the first round and very high in the first round. He had Penn State on a nice win streak, got him in the playoffs. How excited are you about Fernando Mendoza 1 through 10? That's man. We'll get to that in a minute. So, um, yeah, I think Drew Allar is going to be a nice pickup for the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe a little bit of a reach, but I think his draft stock's going to go up. There's not a lot of quarterbacks in this draft. People are going to take quarterbacks in the second round. They're not going to wait till the third. Quarterback needy teams, right? There's a couple of guys that could be scooped up in there. All right. Next up on the clock is The Tennessee Titans, they need a running back, receiver, a center, a guard, an edge, and a corner, and they already have their running back and their edge. So they need a wide receiver. Wait, they have what? Running back and edge? I can't remember shit. So they need a wide receiver, a guard, a center, and a corner. D'Angelo Pons makes sense here. Absolutely, 100%. The Raiders on the clock. And the Raiders picked up Fernando Mendoza, Caleb Lomo, I think Derek Moore, edge from Michigan, is the pick here. I really like Chris Johnson, 6', 195. That's kind of rough. We don't pick again when this draft is over. Um, why do they need a linebacker, a guard, a tackle? You know what? I failed some other teams, but I am not going to fail mine. And Jennings Dunker is the pick here for the Las Vegas Raiders. We have Fernando Mendoza. We have Lamo at tackle and Jennings Dunker at guard. And I think JPJ could be on the trading block. If you do draft a guy like that, there's really no need for him unless he plays center. And I just don't believe there's a lot of teams that feel like he is a center. I know the Raiders fans want to say he is and believe he is. I think he played well there. But my problem with JPJ is his injury history, those concussions. You know, you played 21 games, you've missed 11 in 2 years. That's a problem. You can't have a center, a guy that your quarterback depends on, a guy that your offensive line depends on, not be a guy that you can be reliable and dependable and depend on. And I don't know if JPJ could be that guy. So for that reason, Jennings Dunker, welcome to the Raiders. On the clock is the Eagles. They need an edge. The last pick, we got them a corner and an edge in Zion Young. That is craziness. What do we get? Corner, Avion Terrell. Whew. Edge. They need a guard. They need a guard and a tight end. Tight end would be Max Clare. I think that works for them. All right, on the clock is the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans got their D lineman, they got their center, and they got their running back in Jordan Price. D line, center, and lineman. They need a guard. Let's give them a guard. Make their shit complete, right? Guard would be a hell of a reach for them. You know, I think wait, I thought I took their no, I took Jennings Dunker. And that's way, way down there. I think. Holy Nikes. I guess they're reaching on a guard, man. I guess they're reaching on a guard. so I could get to this screen, not that screen, this screen. Hey, all right. Um, Fernando Mendoza, man, it's it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss with Fernando Mendoza. I don't really know. I feel like obviously he's the best quarterback in this draft. I feel like he has first round traits. And then I look at him and I see, I hate to say it, but I see a Shador Sanders that holds the ball too long. I see a Caleb Williams that holds the ball too long. I don't see him being as dynamic as those guys. I see that being a problem. I also see him go into a Kubiak system that is kind of going to be, a lot different than he was in college. He was in the shotgun 97% of the snaps in college football. In the NFL, Clint Kubiak was over 90% under center with his quarterback. That's going to be a big change for him. Does he have the ability to overcome that? Yes. Is he going to have to sit a year? According to Tom Brady, they want their quarterbacks to sit a year. According to Spytech, they want a quarterback to sit a year. If that's going to be the case, who are they going to bring in? Is it going to be Aiden O'Connell? I'm 100% good with that. Is it going to be a quarterback they're going to pay a bunch of money for? I'm not good for that, right? So I have mixed feelings about Fernando Mendoza. I know the last five head coaches that were first time head coaches that drafted a quarterback first overall, only one of those out of the five made it longer than 2 years. The Raiders need their coach to be in the building for longer than 2 years. We need a coach to be in the building for at least 3 or 4 or 5 to develop a foundation that's not built on sand, that's built on, concrete, solid foundation. And I don't think you can do that if you draft a quarterback first overall and you put that much pressure on your new head coach because this fan base is crazy and they will be calling for people's heads right off the rip, right? So it's, Brady, it, there's a lot of talk saying it's Brady's guy. Brady is locked in on Fernando Mendoza. Brady didn't want Sam Darnold. Brady wanted Geno Smith. I know Brady also wanted, you know, Matthew Stafford, but he didn't want to pay the first round pick to trade for him. So Brady so far record with quarterbacks has not been good for me. And Fernando Mendoza, yes, he was great in college, but he has a lot of work to do in the NFL. I don't think he has a very strong arm. I think it's okay, short intermediate passes, comeback routes, slant routes, drag routes. You know, I think will be okay, but to me, it's just too risky. It's way too risky. And I hear all the talk. We haven't drafted a quarterback, you know, since Jamarcus Russell. I get all that. But you don't just draft a quarterback because you have the first overall pick and you need one when there's only one in the first round and there's possibly 10 or 15 next year. And, you know, there's no saying we could win 7 or 8 games next year and not have a first round pick. Or you could trade that away and make sure you have a first round pick next year. And one of those teams you trade back with, if it's close, like the Jets or the Cardinals or the Browns, more than likely are going to be in the top 10 again. And you have a chance to get your quarterback then. So to me, right? To me, it just makes sense it just makes sense to, if you have the opportunity to trade back. But being in the situation they are, they didn't win enough games. They kind of hurt themselves by winning the last game in Kansas City, and the Raiders are the Raiders, man. They're in a spot where they don't really have a choice. No team is going to give you 3 first round picks for Fernando Mendoza. If they do, then you have to take it, right? But if they don't, then you have to stick and pick. And it could turn out good, and it could turn out, like the other 5 first round, first overall quarterbacks taken by a first time head coach. You could be fired in 2 years. And I think that's bad for this organization. I think it's a bad look for Tom Brady. and it might get Spytek fired. And I believe this is the guy to help rebuild the future of the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think Kubiak is that guy as well, along with, Rob Leonard, who I think is going to kill it on defense, even in his first year. I think he's going to surprise a lot of teams because they don't know what's coming. So, Fernando Mendoza, I'm not going to be mad if they draft him. I'm going to be really pissed if he fails, which, that's being hypocritical, I guess. It's not my number one thing. My number one thing has been trade back the whole time. But if that's a Raider, I'm going to root for him. I'm going to cheer for him. I'm going to do all I can to support him. But damn, it's going to set us back so far if they miss on this pick. And that's, being a Raider fan for 50 years, that scares the shit out of me, to be honest. Like, and any Raider fan, you should be scared to death because if this fails, we're not looking at, okay, we could just bring in another quarterback and make it work. No, we're missing on a first overall pick in the NFL draft that the Raiders have only had, what, three times, I do believe. That is huge. Some teams have never even had the first overall pick in the draft. And shout out to them for being great teams and never being shitty like us, right? But, you know, you have to make the right move. And if Fernando Mendoza turns out to not be that guy that everybody thinks he is, a guy that just jumped from never being talked about at Cal to taking 41 sacks at Cal, high numbers like Shador Sanders, to go into Indiana to be in a system robot quarterback, read, throw, read, throw, read, throw. I don't know if that qualifies for number one. I just don't. I like the guy. I like his character. I like his attitude. His goofy shit. I think is funny. I think he's intelligent as hell. But the NFL is different. It's a different breed, and being goofy like that, it could work, but it might not. And I hope to God it does, right? Because it seems like that's the pick. But I really hope to God that somebody believes in this kid more than the Raiders, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure he is their franchise. That would, you know, I mean, come on. If you get two first round picks and you telling me you can get a guy like Sony Styles and you know anybody in this draft, a Denzel Boston in the first round, that's a game changer, right? If you could go get an Arvell Reese somehow or a David Bailey and a Sonny Styles, you got your edge and your linebacker or both linebackers on both sides, right? So there's there's players in this draft that you could get, if you can get two first round picks, you can change your team around very, very quickly. But there's also a quarterback that, some say is a can't miss. Some say is that guy. Some saying is Joe Burrow. I watch a lot of film. I've watched football for 50 years. You can't you can't sell me that Fernando Mendoza is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was talked about in high school all throughout his college career. Yes, he only had, those two great years with two great wide receivers, but a game changer, right? Fernando Mendoza, just out of the blue, Indiana. Curtis Rourke, I said this over and over again. Curtis Rourke last year did the same thing with Indiana, ran the same system. They only lost two games, right? People say that Mendoza put Indiana on the map. That's caps. That's caps. It was Curtis Rourke last year. Did the same thing with the same receivers, with the same offensive line. The only difference was these coaches had 2 years at Indiana with these players, and these players had 2 years in the system, most of them. And you brought in a guy that, is a plug and play quarterback, in my opinion. So it could go either way. It could go either way. But one way it has to go is right, bro. It has to go right. The Las Vegas Raiders can't afford for Tom Brady or Spytek or any of these guys to make the wrong decision. And I like the fact that our new head coach Clint Kubiak said he has to look at the film, you know, evaluate the talent, How much power does he have as a head coach? If it's not his guy, we will find out in April. But being a first overall pick, I think sucks because you don't throw at the combine, which a lot of people doesn't say doesn't mean shit, but to me it does. To me it does. There's a lot of things you can tell by from a quarterback, the way he throws, his hip movement, right? Throwing to different receivers means a lot. If you could hit a guy in stride on target that you haven't worked with a lot, that to me says way more than being able to hit a guy that you've played with for a year, um, in 17 games or 16 games, right? Played with for a whole season. Just makes it a little different. But on the clock is the Cleveland Browns, and they need a tackle, and what we got a receiver, we got a tackle, and a safety for them. They have a whole team full of offensive linemen that are free agents, and I believe a tackle for them at this spot is the best pick. And there's a lot of talent left on this board. Holy shit. Yeah, there's a lot of talent left on this board. I'm going to draft them a tackle. Washington needs edge, linebacker, and DB. And they have David Bailey. I think Dominic Orange is the guy here. They could use front for sure. D line also here. They have Caleb Downs. And yes, we went two safeties. They need help on both. In the slot, Caleb can play anywhere. He could play corner, right? It doesn't matter to me. Um, I think they need a guard. You have to go guard here. And the next guard would be I think Jaeger Burton, DJ Campbell, Bo Stevens. I have both of those guys way higher than Jalen Farmer. In my opinion, 6'4", 310. Run blocking grade, pass blocking grade. I mean, I think that works for a guard. In the third round? Shit. Draft. They need D line. And wide receiver. I'm going to go Zachariah Branch, I think, right here. I don't know what they're going to do with their wide receiver. They also need D line. I think Derek Moore is a guy that could play all over. Malachi Fields is still on the board. Chris Brazel, Deion Burgess, bro. All these guys are still on this board. I'm going Malachi Fields here for the Saints. You can't have too many targets for Tyler Shook. They have a tight end and an edge and R. Mason Thomas. That is nasty. They need a running back bad. I think Emmett Johnson fits that bill. They need a corner that is. Wait, did I get him a corner already? Yep, Mensador Delane. All right, so they need wide receiver badly. I think CJ Daniels is that guy. Next up on the clock, we have The Steelers in the building. Bush Raiders, salute to the chat. What's good, my guy? Appreciate you. Finally caught alive. Yeah, you never know with me, man. I'm all around. So appreciate you pulling up. Give your takes. What do you think? We're doing 3 rounds, everybody. Tonight, we are on the Steelers. Their need is quarterback, wide receiver, tackle, and DB. They have their quarterback and they have their tackle in Blake Miller. They have Ty Simpson. They need DB. And I think Chandler Rivers is the guy for Miami. I mean, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the clock. They need edge. LT Overton is that guy. They need linebacker. I think Dante Lawson is that guy. They need DB. What did I give the Falcons? The Falcons have only tight end. They need wide receiver also. DB and corner. Oh, D line and corner. They need wide receiver. I think Skylar Bell for the Falcons. I don't know how they'd pass that up. The Ravens, they need guard and D line, and they have 2 wide receivers, Jordan Tyson and Eliza Surratt. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the Ravens offense is going to be crazy. They need D line. I'm going to go Derek Moore there. You can put him pretty much anywhere. The Jaguars on the clock, safe center guard, D line, and safety. They have their safety. They need D line. And safety. I think Wheatley there. They need a safety. The Vikings, 3rd round, they have Jeremiah Love and Keith Aubrey. They need a center. And that center is going to be Jaeger Burton. The Panthers are on the clock. They have Lee Hunter and Jake Golday, linebacker. So they need a wide receiver. Wide receiver is Chris Brazel, I think, is the guy there. Chris Brazel teamed up with what the hell they get? T-Mac Tedero McMillan, I do believe, is the guy they have over there. Lawson is nice. Shout out to the 8 people in the building this late. I appreciate y'all. The Packers are on the clock. They have Colton Hood. They need tackle and D line. Darren Jackson fits that, I do believe there. The Steelers, they picked up Ty Simpson, Blake Miller, and Chandler Rivers. They need wide receiver. I think Antonio Williams there. On the clock, the Chargers, we got Cade McDonald and Sam Hecht. They need a guard. That guard is going to be DJ Campbell out of Texas. The Dolphins got their corner, linebacker, and receiver. Corner, linebacker, and receiver. They need guard. Good night, Lover. And receiver. Another receiver would not hurt for the Dolphins. Losing Tyreek Hill. They also need help on defense. I'm giving them another edge. The Jaguars need safety guard D line. They have two safeties. Yes, I took double safeties. They need help in the slot. Like I said, the one safety could play all over the field. Um, so they need D line guard. I think D line is the best option right this second. I'm going to go Grace Halton here. I think that's the best fit. Um, D line linebacker. Jesus. I think Jacob Rodriguez would be nasty here, but I think York would probably be the best bet. Kyle Lewis is one of my top 5 linebackers. I really like Kyle Lewis. I don't know how they have him this low. We're going with that. The Dolphins need a guard and a wide receiver, and we gave them a corner, linebacker, wide receiver, and edge. Shit, they're set. Let's pick up Garrett Nussmeier just to give him some competition. They do have Cam Miller over there. They do have um, Quinn Ewers as well. All right, on the clock is the Buffalo Bills, wide receiver, edge, linebacker, and DB. They have wide receiver and linebacker. They need edge. That is Anthony Lucas all day. I'm sure y'all be happy with that. They need edge, corner, and safety. Safety would be Genesis Smith right here would be nasty for the Niners. That would be crazy talk. The Rams, they're already set. I mean, they could pretty much trade this pick back. I don't think they really need anything. They have a corner in McCoy, Omar Cooper. They have Carson Beck, their quarterback. They have all 3 needs filled. Um, I think a tight end wouldn't hurt them. Another corner couldn't hurt them either. I like Michael Trigg here. The Broncos, they have a tight end and a center. They need tight end, center, edge, and linebacker. I think edge would be oh no, wait, center, linebacker. Oh, linebacker. That's easy. I think linebacker here would be Jacob Rodriguez. I don't know how he fell that far. The Patriots, guard, tackle, edge, and linebacker. They have a tackle and a guard. They need edge and linebacker. So I think on the edge, Auburn, Kayron Crawford, I think would fit perfectly right there. If they don't bring Caleb on Chasen back, they have their corner and their guard. I believe they could use another tight end. They could use another corner. They might need a running back. I'm going to go Jonah Coleman there. Angel Eyes Melissa was good in the building. Appreciate you. How you doing this morning? All right, the Vikings are on the clock, and we are almost done with this shit. This took forever, bro. Shout out to the people that rocked with us this long through the whole entire thing. Shout out to those that are coming and going. Like, subscribe if you would. If not, you have to sleep tonight, not me. I'm just saying. Running back, corner, DB for the Vikings. They have their running back, their corner, and I got him a center last time. They need a defensive back, and that would be Devin Moore, corner out of Florida. The Eagles, I'm going with the tight end. The Steelers are on the clock again. They need DB. I think Dalen Everett fits that. Let's see what I gave them. They have a corner at Rivers. Deion Burks would be nasty there. That's one of my favorite. Why did it say Grayson Holton? I picked Deion Burks. Oops. Well, oh no, that's their team. My bad. All right. I've been doing this way too long. Starting to get to me. Never even took my dab. Jeez. Finally, the last team on the clock is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They need center guard, defensive lineman, and a safety. They have two safeties and their defensive lineman in Grayson Holton, and they need a guard and a center. There is a lot of talent still on this board. None of them are guard and center. I'm going Jalen. Actually, this is the Jaguars. They could use help at receiver, and I'm gonna go Zachariah Branch. They might lose their number one receiver, and I hope, if they do, Brian Thomas Jr. becomes a Raider. I think that would be crazy. I know people don't like him, but I think he has all the talent in the world to be the guy. Um, yeah, man. So this is the mock draft. I'm not going to read it all. Um, Fernando Mendoza, Arville Reese, Magoa, Tate. Y'all check it out. Y'all go see it. I will probably save this one and post it. Um, Download image. All right, that one's saved. Yeah, it'll only show me the top 32, so I guess I can go over them really quick. Mendoza, number one. Arvell Reese to the Jets, number two. Francis Maui Goa to the Cardinals. Carnell Tate to the Tennessee Titans. Olave Vega Lane to the Giants. Protect Jackson Dart. Makai Lemon for Shador Sanders to throw to out of USC to the Browns. David Bailey to Washington. Caleb Banks to the Saints. Spencer Fano to the Chiefs. Caleb Downs to the Bengals. Messador Delane to the Dolphins. Sony Styles to the Cowboys. Jamond McCoy to the Texans. Jordan Tyson to the Ravens. Ruben Bain Jr. to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Peter Woods to the Jets with their second overall pick. Cedric Falk Auburn to the Lions. That's nasty. Jeremiah Love to the Minnesota Vikings. Lee Hunter, Texas Tech defensive lineman, to the Panthers. Cassius Howe to the Cowboys. They got Cassius Howe and Sony Styles. That's just nasty if that happens. Their defense needs help so bad, and that would sure that defense up. So if you're a Cowboys fan, you should be very happy. The Steelers, they get their first round quarterback and one that I believe is going to be that dude for a long time. They might have one already in the building in Will Howard, who I believe in, but they get Ty Simpson here at 21. Caden McDonald goes 22 to the Chargers. Avion Terrell goes 23 to the Eagles. Caden Proctor goes 24 to the Browns. CJ Allen to the Bears. Denzel Boston 26. Power surge USB. What? What happened? What's going on? The fuck? Windows power surge port USB device needs more power than the port is supplying. What are you talking about? There's only two things hooked up, bro. All right, I don't know. Let me get through these. Casey Concepcion to the San Francisco 49ers. Christian Miller to the Texans. Omar Cooper to the Rams. at 29. Keon Sedquid, Oregon, tight end to the Broncos. That's nasty. Monroe Freely, 31 to the Patriots, and Emmanuel Pregnon, however you say his name, bro. I apologize. He goes to the Super Bowl champs, them Eagles. That play isn't in our playbook just yet. Select up to 3 teams to get customized insights. I don't know what any of that means, bro. I really don't. But shout out to everybody in the building, man. 8 people rocking with me. Like, subscribe. Anybody have any questions? Where did my camera go? I don't know. Did I lose it again? I guess I did. Um, I don't know. It's saying nothing's working. Somehow my camera shut off. So I don't know. Maybe that's why I was saying it needs more. Um, oops, lost connection. That's crazy. Y'all can still hear me. Unless the San Francisco 49ers gets the draft. What? What do you mean? What do you mean? Your 49ers killed it in this draft. You're welcome. Um, all right. Well, I appreciate y'all. Again, like, subscribe, follow on the way out. Tip the plug. That's what that means, right? Like, subscribe, share this live. If you have any picks that you were surprised about, fans of other teams, show them the live. Let them know. Raiders Unleashed, baby. I'm your host, Raiders Rebel. I thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Sorry about my camera. It took a shit. Shout out for the $2 holler in the building. Salute. Faded Raider. Good night, everyone. Much love. Peace. Raiders. We're back, bitch.